Alright, so hello guys. So we're going to be doing another new video on the channel. We're going to be going over the Prydwen tier list once again. So they made some changes. I was going to wait on this a little bit because I wanted to test out Fei Xiao myself to see how good she performed. And I think now is a good time. Before Lingsha comes out and before, the whole meta and the power creep starts again, we're going to talk about the current tier list. They made some changes that I actually do like and others that I absolutely hate. So let's just get into it. So they moved Poho up. Yeah, I saw that coming from a mile away. I'm very glad they did. So we are going to... Okay, so we're going to start with the sustains, and then we'll work our way down per row, and then we'll do Amplifier, Specialist, DPS. Okay, so we're going to look at what they said for Huohuo. Huohuo has been the go-to sustain for many team comps when playing with performance in mind, tuning manual play, thanks to her energy regeneration cleanses and attack boost for a while now. Because of this, we've had our underraters candidate join Adventure in Tier 0 for a while now. With the release of Yunli, tip the scales with Huohuo getting another top tier character that she wants to be always partnered with, who elevates her to new heights. Yeah, I 100% agree. I think Huohuo is on the same level as Aventurine. I feel like Huohuo is kind of like Aventurine for people who know what they're doing, in a sense. Because I feel like Aventurine is just, spend freely, and you just shield and you just win. But Huohuo, you actually kind of got to think a little bit because, you kind of, time your energy, do all that stuff, all that good stuff. So I think her being here next to him is certainly fine. I do wonder what's going to change when we get Lingsha, but we'll just have to see what happens. Moving on to tier 0.5, we have Gallagher and Fushuan. Yeah, Fushuan. I don't think Fushuan deserves to be here anymore. You could say it's a skill issue, you could say it's a build issue, you could say, oh, you just didn't build your character correctly. Which, sure, you can say that. You can be wrong. I don't really care. I don't think Fushuan is on the same level that she used to be. And with time, she's only getting worse. We've been having multiple bosses that make it extremely difficult for her to even be good with. For example, Argentine and Aventurine. Those two bosses are very not fun for her. And those are the bosses that we've been getting recently. So she's only just going to get worse and worse because she didn't really scale with the game as well as I thought she was going to. It is what it is. I don't think she's going to be up here. I feel like she's going to be more towards Locha at this point. And I've seen other people that have also been struggling with Fushuan, so I know it's not just a me problem. I had a dude the other day. He was telling me how good Fushuan is, and you just didn't build it correctly. And then I noticed he had her signature light cone, and I'm like, yeah, okay, that makes more sense. Her signature is quite good, if I remember correctly. I know it gives you a shit ton of healing. Yeah, look at this. Yeah, max HP. When HP is increased, increase the wear damage for allies. Yeah, okay, of course. Yeah, that's an insane. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah, who would die with this? But if you don't have her light cone, I feel like it's a lot rougher. Could just be me though. I want to know what you guys think. I would personally maybe move her down to maybe get a Lingsha here when she comes out. We'll see. And then Luocha is here still. Lynx, Japard, and yeah, Bioloof. Yeah, she has it rough. No cleanse in 2024. You can't be doing that, buddy. You gotta have a cleanse. And then, oh yeah, and then you have a cleanse with Natasha, but her healing is so miserable. It doesn't really matter. And March being down here too makes sense because she has the new form. Nobody's using this anymore. No one is using that. Trust me. And then Amplifier. So they finally moved Robin up. I think this was a long time coming. People started to realize, I think, over time how good Robin actually was, especially if you're on manual play and you know what you're doing. She is very, very good. So I think her being up here makes sense. I want to read what they said, though. For a few of these changes, I'll read the log. If it's not really important, then I won't read it. We've had Robin stated for an upgrade to Tier 0 in this MOC based on her past performance to continue relevance in the meta. However, the release of Fei Xiao only solidified this decision. Robin's synergy with Fei Xiao has made her value undeniable, reinforcing her importance within top-tier team compositions. Without a shadow of a doubt, Robin is eventually moving Robin is officially moving to tier 0. A well-deserved placement, giving her an outstanding contributions to the current meta. Yeah, I agree. I think she's up there. Now, do I think this is going to affect Ron May's placement? Absolutely not. Ron May is an absolutely insane unit still, and so is Robin. You use your break team on one side, your follow-up team on the other, you're good to go. So I think having maybe two characters tier 0 max is good. So I don't think anyone else here is going to move. Unless Chicken Wing Boy comes. So we'll see what happens. In tier 0.5, we have Harmony Trailblazer. I think this is good. I don't know how long this is going to last, though. I feel like Harmony Trailblazer is one of the most likely units to get power crept because they're free. This character is 100% not going to be here forever. I know that. For now, I think it's fine, though, but we'll have to see what happens in the future. And Sparkle is also in tier 0.5. I don't think Sparkle's a tier 0.5 unit anymore. She's just way too niche. And by niche, I don't mean like she doesn't have a lot of teams. Well, she has a few good ones. Like example, Imbiber Lune. I was gonna say Jing Yuan, but Jing Yuan shit, so he doesn't count. I know decent with Acheron, okay with Yun Li. So she has some teams that she's good in, but I feel like they made Robin and Ron May way too universal, and her having her specific role as being like a hyper carry support, but like not really a hyper carry support is a little bit weird. But I don't think she deserves to be up here. I would move her down to tier 1. And then in tier 1, we have Ting Yun and Jiao Shou. Ting Yun, I think being here is fine. I think she got a lot better with Yun Li. Because, like, before Yun Li, I wouldn't say a lot of the top meta teams really needed her. Like, Boot Hill didn't need her. Firefly didn't need her. Dr. Ratio didn't need her. Not his best team, at least. And also... Firefly didn't need her. I don't know if I said that already. Anyways, yeah, I don't think she's going to move here. I think she's good here. I think this tier 1 is a very good spot for her. Jiao Shou, I don't know if he should move up. Because I don't think he's on the same level as value as Harmony Trailblazer. Because he's pretty much only best in slot with one character. Literally, if you don't have Acheron, he's like fucking dog shit. Like, and I know, oh, well, actually you can play him on ratio teams. Actually you can play him on dot teams, which like, sure, but like, is it best in slot? Not really. Apparently it could be like as good as Topaz. I don't really know. But we'll see, I guess. If it's going to mention it here, I don't think it is. Is it? Yeah, well... Yeah, okay. This restricts his team options, but Jiao Shou having 2 permanent buffs and a third form from his cone can do a lot with this. With Jiao Shou bringing tons of debuffs, Ratio has a lot more options to choose from the Amplifier and Sustain rolls. Yeah. Sure. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. So, literally only, he is a dead unit if you don't have Acheron. People keep saying, oh, well, he's going to future-proof your account, which, okay, well, if he's good in the future, I'll get him in the future. I don't want him right now. Yeah, like, he's quite literally only used on Acheron teams, and you can use him on other teams, but he's not nearly as good, and I think that's what's holding him back. He needs more characters. Moving on to that, Silver Wolf once again moved down. They keep moving her up and down and up and down. I don't know what's going on here. I want to read what they said. Probably because of Jiao Shou knocking her out of the Acheron team. Silverwolf still retains a solid position in the meta when her services are needed, but we believe she no longer measures up to the current meta relevance and performs units like Jiao Shou or Ting Yun to remain tier 1. As a result, we're adjusting her tier rating downward to more accurately reflect her power level relative to the other units she shares her tier with. Yeah, sure, I think that's fine. Because I feel like her only really use was Mono Quantum, which Mono Quantum isn't really that great. It's fine, but like, it's not good. And then in the Acheron teams, the debuffer slot is Jiao Shou. Oh, like always now. Those are pretty much all his good teams. Or excuse me, all of her good teams are Jiao Shou and not Silverwolf anymore. It's what it is. And then Pela, I think you could maybe make the argument to move Pella up. She's very good. She's pretty good at skill points. Her debuff shred is pretty big. She's super easy to build. Pretty easy to use. You just, get her ult up. I think you could make the argument to move her up, but I think putting her here is fine. I wouldn't disagree. And then Bronya in tier 0.5, or excuse me, tier 0.1. Oh my god, I can't speak. And then we got Bronya in tier 1.5. I think this is fine, but you could move her up to like tier 1, hell, even maybe tier 0.5. You have that E1. That E1 is insane for her. It helps her a ton with skill points, and that makes her a lot easier to build and play. So I think what's holding her back is the fact that none of her synergies are really good. For example, you can play her on like Boot Hill teams because Boot Hill doesn't need Super Break. You can play something like Boot Hill, Baranya, Bronbe, Gallagher. You can play something like that. But the problem is, the only thing Baranya is doing on that team is advancing Boot Hill forward. Nothing else in her kit is taking advantage of Baranya. Another character would be Jigglypuff, but if you actually think about it for more than 10 seconds, you can see that Bronya and Jigglypuff aren't a very good duo. It's the best duo for her, but that doesn't really make it a good one. And I think that's what's really holding her back right now, is that we need another Bronya that does Bronya better than Bronya does. I think that's our problem, which can happen for sure. And then moving on to tier 2, Asta and Gwenaifen. I think this is fine, but yeah, actually, no, I think this is fine. Asta's really good, but the problem with Asta is that she is never first pick. Like, you don't have Firefly you don't have Ron May in a Firefly team, you use Asta. You don't have like Ron May in the Dot team, you use Asta or Gwenaifen. So it's like these characters are never really first pick anymore, which I think is what really holding them back. But I do think Asta can actually get better in the future. That speed buff is pretty nice. We'll have to see though. And then tier 3 is Hanya. I think Hanya's a lot better than people give her credit for. I think I've probably said before, but I don't like PvP tournaments and gacha games. It's super cringe. Especially in a game like Star Rail, it's like, you get character, do big damage, that's all it is. But like when like all the other characters are off the table, Hanya's actually really decent. So I feel like you could make the argument move her up to tier 2 maybe, alongside these units. But I just don't think anyone's playing Hanya anymore because she pretty much got entirely power cut by Sparkle. So it is what it is. She's really hot though. I do like her a lot. Please move her up. Yukong, same story. Yukong, her issue is that her buffs just run out too fast. If the Roaring Bowstrings procced on her turn and not everyone else's, she'd be like a tier 1 unit at bare minimum. She'd be insanely good. But just now, she just doesn't have what it takes to be anywhere higher, I guess. She could move up to tier 3, maybe, but just like nobody uses her. I do want to check what the most popular teams are that are actually being used to clear MLC 12 with Yukong. Because it's definitely not. Yeah, well, 81% teams are using Imbibitor Lune. That makes sense. Where is the... Oh my god. Here we go. Rank 526 is her best team. That is depressing. That's actually kind of sad. Of how low she is when it comes to that. Yeah, and application rate is 0.03. Yeah, nobody's using Yukong, and it's kind of sad. Because like I feel like when you put in that investment, she can definitely work. But it's just so much investment. That's her problem. And people aren't going to want to do that. It's what it is. And then nobody's in the forgotten ones for this. And then moving on to specialists, there's a little bit of interesting stuff here. Tier 0 is still Firefly. I think that, yeah, I agree with that. Firefly is absolutely ridiculous of a character. You just Oonga Boonga everything, it just dies. I do think she kind of got nerfed, but not really nerfed, because what she was really being propped up by was by the Puppets boss, the past, present, and eternal show. was that boss that was actually quite good for her. Well, it like pretty much was her quote signature boss, and that just turned that fight into a cakewalk. But I think now that it's gone, she's being evaluated in more sort of a more fair comparison. And I do think she definitely does stack up against these top meta DPSs. Speaking of DPSs, why don't they just put all of these in one tier? I don't know what the point of Specialist is. I don't really understand why that's there. They do damage, they're a damage dealer. Anyways, tier 0.5 we have Boot Hill. I'm going to disagree with this take. I think Boot Hill is tier 0. This dude is absolutely ridiculous in single target. And that's a lot of the bosses now, is single target. Especially now, like, we have bosses like Aventurine, who he just folds the Boot Hill. This man is ridiculous. I've watched any Boot Hill clear. I don't see why that's not a tier 0 character. I think he's absolutely up here, for sure. He is on the same level of Firefly and all these other characters, definitely. And Topaz finally moving up. Let's see what they wrote with that. Topaz has seen strong amount of representation and relevance thanks to their synergy with Clara, Dr. Raichu, and now Yunli. But with the release of Fei Xiao that is only going to surge to new heights, Topaz is one of Fei Xiao's best teammates and part of the new strongest teams in the game. Fart. Fei Xiao, Aventurine, Robin, Topaz. Based on both her and existing synergies with some of the best characters in the game, raising her up into the Apex category of tiers. Yeah, definitely I think Topaz is an Apex character now. She was probably the best aged character of the game, besides maybe Himiko. I do want to make a whole video on that, talking about what characters age the best and maybe some that age the worst. I think that could be interesting. Topaz would definitely be on that list. She has gotten so much better, so many buffs, and just found her place in the meta. I think that's great. I do love this character, and I am glad that she's doing so well. So that's honestly really nice to see. And then moving on to tier 1, yeah, the DOT mommies. I can't believe I just said that. Moved down to tier 1. Let's see what they wrote about that. It's definitely that DOT fell off. That's kind of all it is, really. I guarantee you that's what they said. Where is it? Yep. As previously discussed, DOT has now been performing Apex level for an extended period of time. We're following through on our decision to lower both Kafka and Black Swan as a result to this and their continued lack of support. We expect these characters likely to return to form when the developers finally give DOT some attention again. Yeah, I feel like the DOT attention, though, is going to come in a new character. Because if you look at what DOT does and like how it kind of works, Kafka is the issue on that team because Kafka's scaling just isn't that good. Like her scaling is, I believe 90% of the DOT. Let's see. Where is it? Equal to 75. Okay, 75? That seems very low. Okay, that's never mind. That's not 90. That's worse than I thought it was. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty not good for today's standards. So I feel like she'll probably get replaced. I think Black Swan's really good, though. Because Black Swan can still perform without Kafka, but Kafka can't really perform nearly as well without Black Swan. Because you can play Black Swan Acheron teams and stuff like that. Kafka is locked to DOT. And then other characters we have is Hunt, March, and Moza. I think this is fine for Hunt March. I don't think she's as good as Topaz. I know they didn't include her last 3 Eidolons yet, but she could move up, but I don't see her moving up because I don't think she's as good as Boot Hill and Topaz. Neither of Moza. I think he's just kind of a budget Topaz in most scenarios. So I think tier 1 for both of them is absolutely fair. Nobody in tier 1.5 though. That's kind of interesting. Because I feel like you make the argument for maybe Zhui or even Luca to move up there. Because Break, they're very good. They're very good Break characters if you're on a budget. If you can't afford the cool shiny toys, you can use them too, and they actually perform pretty well. Yeah, and like Apocalyptic Shadow tier is even good, but that's not an Apocalyptic Shadow tier list, so we're not going to get into that. Moving on to the niche characters. Welt is in tier 3. That just makes me sad. I love Welt as a character. I think he's really cool. But having him have basically no use right now, besides like maybe Acheron teams, just kind of sucks. It is what it is, though. Sampo down here. As sad as that also makes me, because also like Welt, I love Sampo. But he just got entirely power crept by Black Swan. There's basically no reason to use Sampo anymore. Unless you don't have Black Swan for Kafka, but like then Kafka isn't good, so yeah. Maybe one day. I know there's some tech with like Black Swan and Kafka, or excuse me, Black Swan and Sampo together. That's pretty good. I haven't really looked into it. I'll try it one day probably. But for now, I think Sampo is going to be there. But you could definitely make the argument to move up to tier 2. And Jade in tier 3 is just absolutely ridiculous. Jade is not that low. She is a quite good character. I don't think she's doing main DPS levels of damage outside of PF at least. But her sub DPS damage is quite good. Alright, let's see where... Oh my god, I forgot how horrible this is to navigate. Okay. 96, yeah, that's not bad. With Blade and Bronya Loja, yeah, that's actually a pretty good team. She's performing quite decently. I don't think this is a tier 3 unit. I think this is a tier 2. Because I feel like if you're going to put someone like Blade in tier 2, you got to put Jade up there because those two pretty much bounce off each other perfectly. So I think you could definitely make that argument. I would move Jade up, but that's just me. And another thing is, I don't think Jade is niche. Because every AoE character can work with her. She has better synergies than others, but you can still use them and it's still pretty decent. So that's just my take. And then Su Shang in tier 4, that just kind of makes me sad. I don't think she's that bad, especially because Super Break kind of bumped her up a little bit. So I think you could definitely make that argument for her being up to maybe T3, hell, even T2. Because she's quite good at Super Break. And then for Fire Trailblazer, that makes sense. Yeah, there's no reason to use them over Harmony MC. That's really all it is. And then moving on to the damage dealers. Acheron is still here, holding her throne, and Fei Xiao is up in tier 0. I think everybody saw this coming. Fei Xiao is ridiculous. Let's see what they said about her. We're placing tier 0 and we're placing Fei Xiao in tier 0 and keeping Acheron alongside her for the time being. Sure, in our pre-release testing, Fei Xiao exceeded all our expectations and completely obliterated the current phase of MLC. We are certain she is one of, if not the strongest, crit-based single-target damage dealer in the game. That's not a very high floor considering it was Dr. Ratio, which Dr. Ratio got entirely power crept by this girl. And who else? Yan Cheng? I guess. I'm definitely forgetting someone, but it doesn't really matter. Point is, they're not as good as Fei Xiao, so that's why she is in tier 0. She also has incredible team diversity and options all level of investment from free to play all the way up to high spenders. Yeah, her free to play team, you can use her with like Hunt March and Muzza, and even Robin is very, very good on her. And even you don't need Aventurine either. You can run Fushuan, you can run Gallagher, you can run Lingsha when she comes out. You have options. But I feel like Acheron could be argued to be like more linear than her, or more like set in stone, like you gotta run this, this, and this. Especially with Jiao Chou. Like I feel like to keep up with Fei Xiao, you're gonna have to run Jiao Chou now. Like, and that's like kind of a requirement from what I have seen. Once again, because I don't have Acheron, so I can't tell you for sure. But that's what it seems like to me. We know she is deserving tier 0, but that poses a question. Should Acheron remain alongside her? No. I don't think she should. I do think you can put more than one character in tier 0. But I think Fei Xiao is just wiping everybody out of the water right now. To the point where I don't think Acheron belongs here anymore. I think you'd probably move her down to tier 0.5 and then just put these 4 characters all in the same tier. That's what I think you should do. And then move Clara down. I don't know why the fuck Clara's up there. We'll talk about it in a second, but yeah, I don't know. I don't think Acheron belongs here right now. She's good, but she's definitely aging. Acheron has been at the top of MOC tier list since her release, but as of late has begun to show signs of losing her edge. At the same time, Fall Up and Break archetypes continue to gain improvements via new relics of characters. The Sled team to begin strongly reconsidering a place at the top. This all changed with the reach of Jiao Cho, a character tailor-made to synergize with Acheron. It has now proven on his debut to greatly increase performance, while also performing very well himself. As a result of this, now Acheron has seen one of her best MLC showings yet, with an incredibly high play rate. Sure, I do really quick want to check Jiao Cho's. Look. It's all Acheron. Again, it's all Acheron. So, yeah, I agree with that. So that's true. Between Fei Xiao's explosive performance in testing, Acheron's sudden massive power boost thanks to Jiao Cho, we want to give both team archetypes the time needed to settle into the meta before making a call on Acheron and Jiao Cho's final placements. We'll visit Jiao Cho and Acheron's placements again sooner than our usual update with our decision. And then adding Moza, yeah, like we said in Tier 1. So, let's talk about this a little bit. I think Acheron's a really good unit. I do think she's kind of prone to power creep because of just the way her, like, you have to debuff. She can't use buffs, and, like, typically just buffs are just better than debuffs. Except for, in this case, you could make the argument that it's not because of Jiao Cho, because Jiao Cho significantly helps out Acheron. So, I think for that case, it's not necessarily the case, but for, like, pretty much everyone else it is. So, yeah, I do think Acheron can move down. I think I would not be opposed to moving her down to 0.5 and then just moving these 4 characters to Tier 1. I think that's fine to me. Because Fei Xiao was so dominant at this point, you could move it down. I don't think anyone would be upset besides r/Acheron mains HSR. But who cares? You know, do your shit, Kank. I don't really care. And they... Alright. Moving on. Tier 0.5. Dr. Ratio is still here, and Yoon Lee moved up to Tier 0.5. So we're going to talk about Yoon Lee real quick. We'll talk about Yoon Lee and Clara together. Actually, no, we won't. We'll talk about Yoon Lee first, and then we're going to move down to Tier 1, then we'll talk about Clara. Yoon Lee has more than proven herself as one of the most powerful damage dealers in MLC, even without her signature light cone. With it, she's even stronger. Yeah, that's how a signature light cone works, buddy. She thrives in multiple team comps, both premium and F2P, and it's absolutely Apex character material. Because of this, we're very happy to move her Great Sword user into 0.5, where she deserves to be. I don't know how well she's performing without her signature light cone, unless you get lucky. Because, you know, you gotta get hit and stuff for energy and all that. And for the proc or follow-up attack, obviously. So, I think here, I guess it's fine. Again, I didn't pull Yoon Lee. I didn't pull any 2.4 units before I had Woho, and look at what happened to her. So maybe she could move. Actually, no. I think she's fine here. I don't think she's better than anyone else here. And then, Dr. Ratio, I'm surprised he's still holding on up here. I thought he was going to move down to Tier 1 because of Fei Xiao. Because he got entirely replaced on the Rat team. So he's kind of cooked for now, unfortunately. But, you know, he was free, so it is what it is. In Tier 1, we have Clara moving up. And then Imbiber Lune and Jing Liu. Okay, so Clara just moved up because of Yoon Lee. I think that's what they're going to say. Clara is consistently usable and strong in MLCs. The enemies hit quickly or higher multiple times per action, and over time we've seen an increase to both. Yep. Yoon Lee. Yep. Sure. Okay. So I disagree with this because I don't think she's on the same level as Don Hangale and Jing Liu. These two characters are amazing. I don't think they're going to be on the same level as Clara. Because Clara is entirely just carried by Yoon Lee. Like, I feel like having her in tier with Zila, which is now just Zila tier, was fine. I don't think you really have to move her up because of it. Because I don't think she's good as these two characters. If they're not as good as these two characters, I will not put them there. and I don't think Clara belongs there. Maybe I'm just coping because I don't have Clara after being a day one player. I still don't have a single copy of Clara. I have her Lycone, not her though. So yeah, doing that, and then Imbiber Lune. I think it would kind of make the argument move him up. I've seen some really good Imbiber Lune clears. So she's actually really good. I think he could move up sooner or later. Because again, to this day, I still don't really know why they moved these characters down. I feel like all these characters are kind of on the same tier. Just my opinion, though. And then Jingliu has an eye on her. We'll talk about that later. Tier 1.5 is Zila. Can we stop coping with Zila? Come on, guys. She's not that good. I know some Zila man in the comments probably going to get upset at me saying, oh, she's so good if you speed tune her, you know how to play her. Oh, yeah, hit skill, hit skill, hit skill, hit skill, hit ult. Yeah, very, very difficult gameplay. I'm sorry. I just don't understand that too hard. Anyways, tier 2. Blade. Yeah, I think Blade's fine there. I think if you're going to put Blade here, though, you need to move Jade up. Himiko is good with Super Break. That's it. Jingyuan is just... Poor Jingyuan, man. I think they have a note about him, too. Yep. Jingyuan performed below expectations last few MLCs. Based on our own testing, player gathered data, community feedback. They just put community feedback into everything. I don't know if they listen to us, because if they listen to us, Jet would be in tier 0, but he's not. Anyways, while the most recent phase of him has improved, caused by low play rate, below 1% play rate. 1% play rate is crazy. Yeah, that's insane. TLDR, it's not good. The last sentence here is important, though. And he's not alone here. Most 1.x limited damage dealers are starting to show their age, and will most likely others will join him soon. I'm going to have a whole video coming out about this, hopefully in the next maybe few days to a week. I'm going to try to upload a video about talking about power creep, because power creep in this game is getting ridiculous. Like, let's see, how many 1.0 character or 1.x characters do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we have about half. Wait, 1, 2, 3. Okay, yeah. So maybe like half of them, but like, yeah, I feel like some of these are gonna drop soon. So yeah, this game's power creep is becoming ridiculous, but that's a story for another day. Is what it is. And then they moved Ching Choi down. They moved actually a bunch of characters down because they just don't get used. I guess they're kind of like those like mid early game damage dealers, so you bench and you never use again. So yeah, Ching Choi, Bailu, Serval, Misha, Don Hung, Herda, and Hook all moved down because of one of or the following reasons: lack of meta impact, play rate consistently below expectations, underwhelming and inconsistent results in post multiple phases of testing, not enough meaningful dedicated support matched increasing game difficulty, victims of power creep. Yep, there we go, power creep. Compared to characters who share the same niche but with far superior performance or support, suffers in the hands of new enemy mechanics. Yeah, I mean, I kind of get they're gonna move down there because like they're like these are pretty much all like day 1 4 stars besides Misha. Poor Misha, dude. Misha's really good against bosses like Aventurine, but other than that, he doesn't really do much. I've seen him okay in Super Break, but like just nobody uses him. I feel like that's the problem. Just absolutely nobody's using Misha. It's kind of sad. I mean, Ice Destruction at that point just run Jingliu. And yeah, all these new characters join the Forgotten Ones. Herda, at least Herda is still amazing in pure fiction. Hook, just nobody uses Hook. Arlen is still Arlen. And Don Hong moving down, at least you have the cool 5-star form that's pretty decent. So yeah, that's that. And then they do a funny little thing where they put them on watch lists like they're sex offenders. So when characters perform unexpectedly, either exceeding or falling short of expectation, our team places them on an internal watch list. This approach helps us avoid hasty tier adjustments and ensures that any changes we make are well considered and accurate. Here's a transparent look at the characters we're currently monitoring and the reasons behind it. We welcome your feedback. We also mark these characters with an IS symbol, spot them easier on the tier list. Jingliu. Jing Liu hasn't been seeing the play rate, performance, or meta relevance that she previously retained for quite some time now, with this MOC being a particularly underwhelming showing for her. Let's remind ourselves what the boss is for this MOC. The MOC boss is fucking Aventurine. You know, the guy that always wastes your time is 2 million HP. And Jing Liu just absolutely just does not do well against. Which is funny, because in this apocalyptic shadow that also has Aventurine, there's a new version of the boss, and that boss is actually really, really good for her, because when she can kill the dice, and she's not just wasting time, she's actually pretty good. So I really hope they use that boss going forward, because I think me and a lot of other people like that boss more, and it actually makes characters that would otherwise not be that great actually pretty good. So that would be really nice if they kept that around. So, anyways, Jing Liu hasn't received any major dedicated support since the time of her release. That's her biggest issue, by far. Only seeing minor improvements or variations to Ron, May, Sparkle, and Robin, none of which are designed for her and usually much better played with other compositions they synergize better with. Jing Liu needs a dedicated support at this point. You gave one to Dan Hung-il with Sparkle. Where's Jing Liu? That's not fair. You gotta give both siblings something. You can't give Thomas one thing and you don't give Ben the other. That's an issue. So give Jing Liu something that she can play with, and then maybe she'll be good again. I'm a Jing Liu main. I've been using this character for so long. Her fall off is very, very sad to me. Because this character used to be insane. And now she's fucking competing with a little physical girl that's barefoot. Like, come on. Actually, two of them. And that's a problem, man. That's a problem. She shouldn't be. She should be better than them. She should be on the same level as Dong Hang-il, and she's not. Because this game refuses to give her a dedicated support that she desperately needs. Instead, they give it to Acheron, who's like, oh yeah, really glad they buffed the weak characters like Acheron. Man, thank you. I love Hoyoverse. Anyways, we're going to move on from that because I'm getting pissed off. Acheron and Jiaoqiu. Yeah, as mentioned earlier, we're placing them both on an express watchlist to check how they perform against Fei Xiao. Acheron can maintain her spot or drop to tier 0.5, while Jiaoqiu can potentially move to tier 0.5 depending on how well they perform in our testing and the community stands in the near future. Yeah, I don't think Jiaoqiu's moving up. I don't think he's an Apex character because his flexibility just isn't there right now in terms of best in slot teammates. You can run him pretty much anywhere, but like that doesn't mean he's going to be best in slot anywhere besides Acheron. And if you're going to move, if you're going to move Acheron down, you can just keep Jiaoqiu where he is because I think he's fine where he is. That's just my own opinion though. Jade and Argenti. Previously, we placed both Jade and Argenti on the watch list as potential candidates for tier promotion. However, upon further testing and analysis for our collected data, neither have been able to sustain the strong performance initially observed. Despite their early promise, both characters have fallen short in their recent showings. As a result, we maintain the current position placement for the time being and remove them from the watch list. That's an L tag. L fucking tag. Argenti is not as bad as people say he is. He's really not. He's pretty good. I don't think he's this low. I think Prydwen has something against Argenti. He's probably the most screwed over character in the tier list because he is absolutely a tier 0 unit in perfection. He is a tier 0 unit in perfection. In your own data, he's performing the best. Like, come on. This is a tier 0 unit in pure fiction. Okay. And it's here. Yeah, he's not that bad, guys. You think the difference between him and a fucking Misha is one tier? No, it's not. He's a tier 2 unit at least. He's about as good as these units, I would say. Like, and then Jade, again, Jade has been pretty good with Blade, so I feel like whenever you put Blade, you gotta put Jade. So that's my own opinion on it. And then we're gonna talk about where I think Lingsha is gonna go on the tier list, because she's the new character that we're getting in about 10 days from now. So we're gonna talk about that real quick. I think she is going to be in tier 0.5 right next to Gallagher. Because I don't think she's a significant upgrade over Gallagher from what I've seen, to the point where it's really going to make a difference. Because Gallagher is like huge selling point. Well, not really selling point, he's getting it for free, but like huge perk is his skill points. This man uses basically no skill points. You throw him a multiplication, he's getting you so many skill points. He has a skill point factory, and that is really good for E0 Firefly. Lingsha doesn't have as good as an SP generation as Gallagher does. Not saying Lingsha's is bad, because it's still pretty good. I believe you need a skill like 2 or 3 times, like every 2 or 3 turns. I could be wrong about that though, because I haven't seen too much gameplay on her. So, I think, yeah, you could definitely put her in tier 0.5, because I don't know if she's going to be a tier 0 unit next to likes of Aventurine and Huohuo. But I think she's going to be definitely better than Fuchuan. So I think Fuchuan can probably move down to tier 1 and keep her with Luocha. And I think that's fine, honestly. And so that should be all for the tier list. We can briefly go over Pure Fiction. Not really anything changed, you know. Yeah, Herd of Himiko is always good. Yep. Everything is fine. And then we can go to Apocalyptic Shadow real quick. Also, this is just break or you lose. That's all it is. I do want to talk about this listing real quick, Jingliu. Jingliu has been very, very good against Aventurine. And also in the Doomsday Beast, she was still pretty good because it was weak to ice. I don't think she's tier 0.5 in Apocalyptic Shadow. You could easily move over to tier 1, hell even 0.5. I wouldn't be opposed to that. You can say, oh, she's carried by the buff, but if that's an argument we want to make, then you got to put Boodle and Firefly down because they're completely carried by the break buff. Well, not completely carried, you know what I'm saying. They would not be nearly as good if we didn't have the break buff, because they literally made a whole game mode to promote those characters. Anyways, that's my take on it. So that is the whole tier list. So thank you for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. And make sure you catch the video that I'm going to probably make in a few days talking about power creep. That's something you're going to want to watch. Because it's probably going to be more of a rant, honestly, because I'm so tired of power creep. But we'll see how it goes. Alright, take care, everyone. See ya.